and welcome back to Christy Cooks for Life. So today we are going to make a turkey and black bean enchilada casserole. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare the filling for the enchiladas. And earlier I had made an enchilada sauce from scratch, so we're going to be incorporating that into this dish as well. So the first thing we're going to do is put some olive oil into our pan. So I'm just going to do a couple turns, probably about 3 or 4 tablespoons of olive oil. The skillet, it's a nice, great big skillet. It's deep and it can go from the stove to the oven, so I use it for a lot of dishes. So if you don't have something like that, I strongly recommend that you invest in one. It can be a lifesaver sometimes. So I put a little olive oil on the pan because I feel like the turkey always sticks a little bit and I don't like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up this. Wait, maybe I'm gonna open it. I need my muscles. It's organic ground turkey. I get this at Costco. It's a nice product, and it comes in a package of 3. And oh my gosh, is that hard to open. All right, stay with me. All right, that's good enough. So we're gonna pour that in there. Make sure we get all of it out of the plastic, and I'm gonna throw that away. And then I'm gonna wash my hands because the last thing I want is turkey all over everything. So a little warm water and soap while that's browning over there. Paper towel. Make sure I don't get turkey on any of my dish towels. It's one thing maybe a little wasteful to use paper towels, but I always use it when I'm worried about, cross-contaminating things. So we're gonna go ahead and get this turkey working in the skillet. And while that's starting to brown, in my little food processor, which is another great little tool that I have, it's like a mini food processor. And I have to say that one year for Christmas, my grandma, who lived with my parents for years, Grandma Blamer, she bought all of us, my mom, my sister, and myself, this little mini food processor because for years and years she worked in a kitchen at a university, and she always did all of the veggies. She would have to cut everything up, chop everything. She was basically a sous chef back then at the university, and she just thought we needed these little mini food processors because it would make our lives so much easier. And for her, that was, a fun little way to help us out, and something that in her, experience had never had the opportunity to use. So she got this for us, and I have to say, it's one of the best gifts I ever got. I use that thing all the time. I make, I chop up onions and garlic. Sometimes I use it for nuts. Sometimes I use it for like grinding up bread. And earlier I made a recipe where I needed ground oat flour. And so I made my own with rolled oats. I just put it in there and ground it up. And it's just the right size. I think it's probably about like 2 cup size. And it's super fun and super easy. So you get this little wooden spatula so we can break this turkey up. And then to this, we are gonna add 2 tablespoons of chili powder. And again, measuring in my hand, you know how I am by now. So we're gonna get that in there. And we need quite a bit of cilantro. I'm not gonna put the cilantro in quite yet till we get this turkey working a little bit more here. Also a little bit of cumin. Get some cumin in there. Nice Mexican spices. All the same spices that I used in the enchilada sauce are also going into this turkey and black bean mixture. It's always good to just layer those flavors over and over again to add some depth to the flavors. And of course, because I'm making all of my recipes low sodium, I tend to add a little bit extra seasoning whenever I can because I want to build those flavors without having to use salt or any other kind of sodium product. So you'll see that a lot of times I add additional seasoning that, you know, maybe a recipe doesn't call for, or I didn't used to use in the past because I was able to season it up with salt. It's very awesome that you can take things from your history, you know, the story I told about my grandma and all the cooking I did when I was younger. All of that has contributed to how I cook today, even though what I cooked a long time ago probably was a lot different style of cooking than I do now. All of those techniques and experiences has helped me become the cook that I am. Certainly isn't required, but it has helped. All right, so that turkey is pretty well browned. We don't want it to get too done because then it'll get dry. So just want to make sure that it's, you know, pretty well browned. And then to that, I'm actually gonna add a can of no salt tomato and green chilies. The recipe that I usually use calls for a jalapeno cut up in it, but this is kind of like a twofer, which is always a nice bonus, right? Whenever you can do a little less work and it's already done for you. And the fact that this has no salt in it, it has 15 milligrams of sodium in a serving, and there are 2.5 servings in the can. And by the time we put this in the enchiladas, it's gonna even be less than that. So the other thing that I'm gonna do is find a spoon. I will use this spoon. And I'm gonna stir up this enchilada sauce. And I'm gonna actually use the can that I used, took the tomatoes out of, and I'm gonna use a half a can of the enchilada sauce. It's just an easy way to measure. So it's 1 part tomato and chilies and a half parts of the enchilada sauce. So we're gonna mix that all in. I'm gonna put a little more heat on that, slowed down a little way too much. So you're gonna stir that up. And then I'm gonna add the black beans in there. Goodness, I'm tripping over my words today. So I took a can of black beans, and again, these are low sodium black beans. So you just need to look for those ways to save salt when you're at the grocery store. There's so many of them now out there. And we're gonna mix in these black beans in with the turkey and the tomatoes and the chili. Honestly, you can just take this and serve it over rice, or add some rice in and make yourself a nice skillet. I love to make these kind of skillets on the weeknights when we're busy. Just throw all the ingredients into this big pan, which we talked about earlier. Love this big pan. And, you know, you can just mix it all together and have a dinner in less than 30 minutes, really. So I'm gonna let that cook for a little bit, let those flavors build and get the beans warmed up, everything cooked through. And I'm gonna clean up my mess a little bit here, because I have to admit, I'm a little bit of a messy cook. My mom taught me to clean up as I go, but when I get all these recipes going at the same time, I sometimes forget myself. Can add a little bit of ground black pepper to that to add some more flavor, some more seasoning. And then what we're gonna do is, once this heats through, I'm gonna actually drain this. So I'm gonna use the same strainer that I drained the black beans. I'm actually gonna grab a spoon and give this a little taste and see how our seasonings are doing. Those chilies are hot. So this tastes pretty good, but I actually think it needs a little something. So whenever I feel like I'm missing out on some salt, I'll throw in some onion powder. It kind of gives you that same depth of flavor. So I put about a tablespoon of onion powder in there, just because I want to make sure that we develop a little bit more flavor. So we are going to actually mash these beans up a little bit to make this a little bit thicker. So let's pull this bowl up here. Leave that over there. I'm gonna shut that off, and we're just gonna scoop that in there. little bit, get that sauce off. I don't know if you can see that in the bottom of the bowl, the juice that's coming, oh, that didn't work, so hot. The juice that's coming out through the strainer, that's gonna make it so our filling is not so wet when we put it into the tortillas, so it doesn't get super soggy. Even though we're gonna add the sauce over the top, it just helps bind that all together. Grab another bowl, put this first batch in. See how thick that is? Makes for a nice filling. We'll put the rest of this in here. As you can see, it makes quite a lot, and I'm making a big mess. I'm not like those TV shows that you see on the Food Network. This is like getting down and dirty here. Get all that out of there. I will say you need to work out if you're gonna use this pan. It's a little bit on the heavy side. But I think that's what makes it cook so nicely. It's that nice, it's got a plate on the bottom to keep that heat even throughout the whole pan. And it's got a nice heft to it that helps with making sure that all the ingredients are cooking evenly. All right, so we're gonna set that aside right there. Now what we're doing is I'm actually softening up the tortillas. And there's a couple ways you can do that. I am actually doing them on the gas burner because I want them to have a little more, I want them to be a little more substantial, I guess. You could do it in the microwave, but I feel like that makes them a little too soggy and kind of makes the whole casserole possibly turn a little mushy, which I don't care for. So I am just taking my gas burners and I have them on somewhat of a medium heat. And then I just place the tortillas right on there. Gotta keep a close eye on them because they'll burn quickly. So this is definitely not something you wanna walk away from. And you just want to have the edges be a little bit crispy, and you can see when, like this one's poofing up. Like that one popped right up, but it'll go right back down. Just gives the casserole a little bit more character. So I'm doing about 10 or 11 of these. I'm not exactly sure how many I'm gonna need, how many I can fit in my casserole dish here, but I can always, you know, warm a couple more up if I don't have enough. If I have too many, we'll fit them in. We'll figure it out. So nothing has to be an exact science. That is for sure. All right, so, whoops, I missed one. We'll leave that back burner on for that guy. Put him over there. So then what we're gonna do is we are going to take our spoon and we are gonna put some of the enchilada sauce in the bottom of the pan. Just wanna coat that. Make sure the whole pan has a little bit of sauce on the bottom. I guess I'm not gonna have a whole lot of that enchilada sauce left. It's come in quite handy with this recipe. So we're gonna spread that out on the bottom. Give ourselves a nice little, ooh, where'd my tongs go? This one's on fire. Okay, that one's a little too done. We're not gonna use that one. We'll make more if we need to. See what I mean? By not walking away, I got distracted for a couple minutes and look what happened. So let's just make sure that's coated. Then we're gonna take our spoon and we're literally gonna take, well, you know, we're gonna eyeball it, but it's gonna be about a quarter of a cup of filling. Oh, generous amount there. Almost licked my finger. I love to take little bites when I'm cooking. So we're gonna turn that over. Ooh, those are hot. Okay, make sure that we got that in there. Bring this a little bit closer. Get that filling in there. All right, so as you can see, you're just gonna roll that up, pull it tight, roll it over, and then tuck it into the pan. I'm gonna finish making these up, and then what we're gonna do is once we get the pan full, I'm actually gonna brush the edges. I'm gonna grab my pastry brush, and with that leftover sauce that we had from here, we're gonna just brush the edges so they don't get too far gone in the oven. And that's what we're gonna do for the whole casserole. Then we're gonna sprinkle a little bit of cheese on top of it. And the nice thing is, because we made our own enchilada sauce, it hardly has any sodium in it. And the black beans are low sodium. The turkey has very little sodium in it. And the tomatoes and chili had no salt in them. To add a little bit of cheese on top is not gonna make it that much more sodium. I mean, it does have the most sodium in it, but if we just sprinkle a little over the top, it's still a very low sodium dinner. Okay, so I just took the turkey and bean enchiladas out of the oven, and not sure if you can see, but they're nice and golden brown. I'm gonna go ahead and pull a couple out and plate them, so you can get an idea of what the finished product looks like. Oops, that one's falling apart. All right, just gonna do 2 per plate. Cut that open, so you can see all that yummy filling on the inside. Get a look at that. So we're gonna serve that with some veggies tonight and have an awesome little Mexican dinner. So thank you for joining me. I'm Christy from Christy Cooks for Life, and remember to make every meal a heart healthy meal.